So with it,
Morning,
fam. Thank you
family.
for tuning in to
Welcome back to
BYOB.
B.Y.O.B.
That's it. We plugged in.
Bring Your Own Bible podcast.
Yeah, well, we believe the Bible is basic instruction before leaving earth. The Bible is a book of prophecies, promises, the purpose of God, as well as principles that we must live our life by. And that's why we're here today to unpack that. Thank you for tuning
we're gonna
in.
talk about it.
Thank you for partnering with us.
I'm trying to
make sure we locked in to see what the purpose and plan that God has destined for us today. And of course, we've been talking about purpose the whole time, kind of just walking us through what it means to have purpose and how we have to dive into purpose. We left off last week dealing with purpose as it relates to servanthood.
Exactly.
And we brought up a couple of examples that we had and experienced from the waiter that we experienced in the restaurant Houston last weekend. Was amazing, dynamic. That person almost like they was reading you before you
your mind
started. But that was amazing because somebody
I can read your mind, know what you're thinking.
Wow, that's what you.
And that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. So I just got through liking and sharing our video for today. If you could do us a favor, like and share this video. I believe it's going to bless somebody. It really has blessed me. And I'm super excited about what we're going to be talking about today. Y'all, I must say this because last week I forgot. I was caught up into what we were talking about. And if y'all go back to the video last week, he didn't have no shades on. Right. So these lights wasn't bothering him that bad. He did not get blinded, but he came back this week with them shades on.
No, I was tortured. Looking to the left instead of
so
to the right.
I wanted to point that out because I forgot last week. I wanted to throw some shade on that one.
Yeah, sometimes when you walk into your purpose, y'all, you will have to ignore the hate.
So we did not get to finish talking about servanthood last week. So I want to finish that off before we moved on. So we know that chapters 1 through 6, it talks about our purpose. And our purpose is to be in relationship with God. That's why he created us, so that we can be in relationship with him. And I think that this book, Purpose Driven Life, does a pretty good job of showing us how these purposes or these different domains within the book, how they align together to make us a whole individual, like to make us whole. So I realized that my ultimate purpose is to be in a relationship with him. So I'm cultivating that. I'm working on the relationship. Then in chapters 7 through 13, which we were working on last week, it talked about we talked about servanthood versus ministry and the differences between the two. We know that ministry can be a physical act. I can just go. Yeah. It's like going to your job. Go do your job. Do what you are supposed to do or what you've been assigned to do. But servanthood comes from the heart. And where we left off was posturing our hearts for servanthood. Because if your heart is not in it, people can tell, people can feel it. And that's why they be like, man, I ain't with that church stuff. Them people fake. I don't want to fool with them, da, 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 da. Yeah. And we've all heard someone say this before. If you haven't, like my grandmother would say, keep on living. But these are facts. People feel this way and don't want to be in connection with other church goers because of the hurt that they feel, because of the hypocrisy, and whatever other feelings they have. But I believe that it comes from people who are burned, people who are tired, people who are hurting themselves, and they're not serving from their heart. Their heart isn't in a posture of servanthood. They're just doing it because that's my job. Yeah. And I'm assigned to it.
Don't judge God off his bad kids, because God got bad kids.
That's good. I like it.
You seen people.
You see somebody with some bad kids.
Yeah, you be like, hey. But at the same time, sometimes you have some bad kids or some wayward kids that's not speaking from the heart of their parents. And that's what I say, same thing with God. You might run into a church member, churches, and people then coin this label that I don't like, but it's something that's being said, stuff called church hurt. As if, that the church hurt them when it wasn't the church that hurt them.
People in
it was
church.
An individual in the church or a person. People hurt people hurt people. And just
say it
because
again, hurt people
will hurt
people.
And just because they in the church don't make them exception to the rule. But I do understand a person that's in leadership, they should rise above and hold their standard. And I encourage anybody that experienced that and went through that, find a place. You know, you don't turn your back on God or run away from a place of assembly. And then people arguing about, do you even have to go to church to connect with God? That you don't. Going to church is something that I do because I am connected to God. I don't go there because of trying to get connected to God, but being connected to God made me go there. Yeah, being married and being with my wife, I don't have to come home to make that happen. But because I am, I come. Because we in relationship, that what made me come to the house.
I'm just saying, like if a person want to keep living and they married, then yes,
that's what
you do have to.
That's why it's hard to serve God, really. Put the life
talk about it.
But the relationship itself make you want to come home. And
yes,
that's what
okay.
The same thing.
Fix it, brother.
The relationship.
Give me some.
No, you fix it. You got murder on your mind, but it should make you want to go to the house of faith because I'm in relationship with them. So I always encourage people, man, find it, and then find your tribe. Every place ain't your cup of tea. We didn't visit several places, been places. Sometimes we walk in, bless God, they preaching the word, but they not preaching the way I can receive it. We need to find another place
way you can receive it.
And I say I don't knock none of that. It'll be like you getting mad when you go down a bread aisle and just start throwing all the other bread away. No, you go down there, you pick
and get what you need.
Get the type of bread that you want. You good, you know. It's for everybody. Yeah.
Oh boy, he is funny to me. If you didn't know.
What's up, Land? Tune in with us. Shout out. Because I always tune in with you. We appreciate you.
So, posturing our hearts, and we're going to try to get through this really quickly so we can get into this week's topic. We said that number one, we had to change our mindset. We cannot serve from a selfish place, but we have to serve selflessly. Yes, I said it right. I want to make sure my words come out right. You have to have a mindset of selflessness in order to be in posture for servanthood, true servanthood. Practice self-emptying. We've heard it time and time again where you have to kill your flesh. Your flesh has to die daily so that you can operate and move in the spirit. You have to have compassion for people. We talked about that as well. And empathy as well, because a lot of times we forget what it's like to be without. We forget what it's like to hurt. We forget what it's like to be going through or to be judged, because we judge even though we don't have the power really to do so. We all do it from time to time for various reasons, but we act like we forget what it's like
and to be, that's what you know, share. And that's in every facet of our life, because sometimes we don't self-reflect.
Yes.
So when I don't self-reflect, sometimes I project on you of where I think you should be in life or should be experiencing.
Say that.
Say that same thing with parents.
Say that.
Because say that you'll be raising your kids and you'll project on them something. But then if you think back when you were 13, you 14, 15, some of the same stuff that they're going through, they just going through it in a different phase, maybe with the social media, but it's the same experience. And likewise with co-workers and people you associate with, they just in different phases. And I always challenge them. We said this last time, when people say, man, I don't know how somebody can do that. I said, you don't know their story. You say that because you didn't experience it. I would never sell my body. Yeah.
And you know what? I am guilty. I have said that. And when you brought that to my attention, I started thinking, I was like, well, dang, you never know what somebody was exposed to or what made them make the decision to do that. I don't think people grow up saying, well, I want to sell my body when I grow up, you know, or I want to do drugs and be an addict. Like nobody wants those bad things, but something in life happens and their back is against the wall. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they feel like they have no other options because they do not have community. They don't have anybody to lean on.
I'm gonna tell you my biggest eye opener with that. I'm in Shreveport, homeless. I'm like, man, I'm fresh on patrol. We ain't nothing.
Oh, I thought you. I was like, baby, I didn't know you was homeless.
Nah, I wasn't homeless, but I'm working with the homeless. So I'm out there on patrol in the middle of the night. It's like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna talk to him just to see. Talk to the guy, multiple degrees, smart as a whip, own a home, got a family, everything. Just literally checked out of life. Yeah, I'm assuming you homeless. You ain't got none.
He has a home, but chooses not to live in it.
And listen, got money. You know, is a very wealthy person, educated.
Wow.
All that, and just decided one day to check out of life just with the pressure of it and everything. And And what's crazy is families on the East Coast, he literally every year during the holidays get cleaned up, shave and everything. That's what blew me. And then fly home and like everything normal, then
Wow,
come
you
back and live like
absolutely
this.
never
But his
know.
thing was he said he don't have to deal with any other pressure of life because he literally checked out. And there you go. When you start unpacking, communicating with people, doing our part as disciples, contacting people, you start realizing it's a backstory to what you see present. You
Hmm.
judging a book by its cover now, but you don't know the full content of the story that's in the
Yeah.
book. Like, how did you even get to this point? And once you start doing that, you start thanking God. Like, hey, I think I ain't had the experience at
Yes,
all. You
indeed.
know, and then it's growth. Yeah.
All
So,
right. The next thing was to serve without expectations. A lot
yeah.
of the times we have experienced it, whether we experience it because we did it or we saw someone do it, but we serve with the intent of getting someone's attention, getting some recognition or some notoriety, or maybe even payment. Y'all, if we are really going to serve people the way
Mm-hmm.
that God intends for us to, so that we can be a community that draws people to Him, we can't have any expectations except that God is going to provide
True.
and that He gets the glory out of everything we say and do. But we can't go into servanthood saying that I want to serve as unto God, but hoping that I become rich and famous. And then that becomes my goal. My goal in all of this is to bring glory to Him and to help someone else along the way. Now, there are some different ways that you can serve and some little nuggets
Yeah.
that we want to leave with you. Number one being, whenever you're serving, because you said this last week, I'm saved, but I'm not. I think is it? I'm saved, but I'm not soft.
Right.
You
That's
know,
all.
don't take my
Kindness. Mm-hmm.
My Christianity or my
Mm-hmm.
kindness for a weakness.
True.
So serve with wisdom and discernment, because
Right.
people will try to play you,
Yeah.
and then you be around here talking about some church hurt because you wasn't operating in discernment.
Yeah.
So serve with wisdom and discernment. The other thing is you can a lot of the times this has been my experience, because sometimes you don't really know where you fit in. Like, okay, well, I don't want to be an usher. I can't sing. I don't want to work um,
Mm-hmm.
with the kids.
Right.
So what do I do? I'm
Yeah.
just gonna come. I'll get the word. I'll leave. But there are other ways you can
Right.
serve. One of those ways now, especially 21st century, especially after COVID, serve through technology.
Technology. Yeah.
Yes,
Hey, now.
I thought that was a cool thought, because you have so many people that are kind of lost in the shuffle. They haven't found that place where they
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable or where they fit. And serving through technology is a good one, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. And then the back to their self reflection point, you got to know where you at. As a person, everybody don't need to work with people. Some
Oh,
people don't really like people, and
they
so they don't need to work
don't
with people.
like people, but they
Or,
work
or,
with people.
or like I said, some people don't really care for little people. Little people, work their nerves. They don't want to be, around them 24/7.
I work
So
with them all
you
the
got to find
time,
a
so I
place.
just need a break.
But the thing is, I think it's just being honest with yourself. As a Christian,
Yes.
people hit you with, "What would Jesus do?" Yeah,
Oh boy,
Jesus
don't,
done.
that burns me up, as
But
my
I to
mother in
have,
love would say.
yeah, it's okay to have your own purpose and bias as it
Yes.
relates to certain things. And that's part of growth and maturity to say, listen, that's not my area. That's not for me. If I can help in any other way, I will, but that's not for me.
I try to tell them people that work there too. Don't put me with the littles. That's what we call them, the littles. All that whining and crying and stuff. I just can't.
Can't
So
maintain that.
you don't judge me because of it. All right. So don't forget to posture yourself for servanthood, and it's something that has to be in you, and you have to do it from your heart. All
Right.
right. That takes us right into what we're talking about this week's chapters 14 through 18 is about the fellowship and the community,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, okay, this is so simple and basic. Fellowship. Okay. It's, for the lack of a better term, I was like, okay, you're just hanging out with people. But fellowship highlights the importance of the relationship and the community together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to look up the definition, or I did look up the definition. It says fellowship refers to the close, supportive, and meaningful relationships between people who share a common goal or belief. That for me made it not so simple, right? Because I said, okay, this is gonna be easy, it's simple, it's just fellowship, it's really hanging out with people, right?
Should be
But
easy to do.
it should be meaningful. It is a close, supportive, and meaningful relationship. But the thing that stuck out more to me was the supportive part. Us supporting one another obviously is going to mean something to the other person.
True.
Hopefully it does. Hopefully you don't have a user and an abuser. But if you serving with wisdom and discernment, you can pick up on that and kind of be like, I can't really be in fellowship with this person because it's a trigger for me. You got to choose your words wisely. It's a trigger.
Need the discernment of spirit, bro.
Come on now.
Yeah.
So again, chapters 14 through 18 talks about the fellowship. So when I first started reading this, again, I thought that fellowship in and of itself, I was like, okay, that's simple enough. That's not enough for us to sit on a podcast for an hour to discuss, right? Yeah. So I said, what examples of fellowship specifically are there in the Bible? What stories do I know in the Bible that specifically target fellowship so that I can point out the importance? Like, what is God trying to show me, right?
Yeah.
And stories that we've all heard and know. Mm-hmm. And once you realize what fellowship is, that close, meaningful, supportive relationship, and then you go back and you reread or you re-listen to or even watch these stories, you're like, oh, dang. Then it starts coming together and making more sense. And then you can see the whole picture. So the first story is found in Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47. And it's the early church in Acts. After Jesus had went back to heaven, the followers began together and they were meeting. They prayed, they ate meals, they fellowship one with another. They supported each other by sharing different encounters and different perceptions of Jesus, because everybody had their own relationship with him. So everybody had a different little piece or got it in a different way. Them coming together to share these experiences and share these stories and share their thoughts. That's how we got the Bible today, to help lead and guide us as we.
That's what gave birth to the church.
Come on.
But and then that's when the Holy Spirit. So he ascended, so the Holy Spirit to descend, but he needed them to be in one accord in order for that to happen. So one accord comes through fellowship. You can't be one with someone without fellowshipping with them.
Yeah.
So I got to commune and fellowship, and that go back to marriage and the whole 9 yards. We can't jump to being one without us having a fellowship before. And many times you're trying to build a community without fellowship and have relationship, and that's something we're learning even more so. Having breakfast and lunch and talking to people and building bonds with them, because you want to have fellowship with them before we try to enter into.
I'm glad you even brought up marriage, because you said before you can be one, being one is when the husband and wife, for the sake of this podcast, consummate. That's when we're one, because physically we really are two individuals, right? But when we come together as husband and wife,
the two
shall become one. But I'm glad you said that, because even when you're in a relationship like your marriage and you want to be in fellowship with your partner, it ain't something you just go jump into just because, well, we supposed to be in fellowship. Oh no, back up, hold up, calm down. It's a wooing process that needs to take place, right?
Teacher.
Come on now, don't do that.
Teacher.
It's a wooing process that needs to take place before fellowship, meaningful relationship can, happen, right?
I want to see you.
But it's the same thing in our walk with others. Okay. We're not just gonna come together and boom, we automatically click. Boom, we automatically BFFs and we friends to death. It's not gonna automatically be like that. There's gonna be a wooing process where we are learning each other. I'm learning what makes you tick. I'm learning all of these things about you, so that when we are in fellowship with each other, I'm not poking the bear, right? I'm not doing things to cause offense, but I'm learning about you, from you, of you, so that I can help build you up. And in return, you do the same for me.
Right. That's how you grow.
Yeah.
That's how a relationship
Did I
grow.
pull it together?
Yeah, you put it together. Let's go. I want to see.
Oh, because you was gonna leave me out there on that
No,
water.
I'm just saying.
You said, I want to see how you gonna pull this
I'm
together.
just saying you make it work. Let's
Okay.
go make it work.
All right,
So it's a
then.
warring process in fellowship before there's
Yeah, I mean, because you brought up marriage, so I thought it was a perfect example.
Yeah,
it makes sense to me.
And that's how you're gonna grow and mature, and like you saying, connection. In that, it was actually the Old Testament really being revealed. So the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. So when Nimrod said we would build something that reached the heavens, and I'm paraphrasing, we would go to heaven ourselves. It said that God changed their language. And when God changed their language, they couldn't communicate no more.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. There you got the Tower of Babel.
That's why I understand some of my brothers and sisters.
Right. So the Tower of Babel is based off the communication end up breaking. They're building something. They're on one accord. Their language changed because God said, don't stop them. Nothing to stop them. Language change, communication breakdown. They stop building. Then you jump over into Acts.
When communication fails,
yeah, and
look what happens.
Over to Acts, communication get back together, one accord through fellowship. The Holy Spirit is sin. Now you got the birth of the church. You end up building the body of Christ when the other building got stopped because of communication.
I love having Sunday school with you.
We bridging the gap. So
look
you
at
went from Old Testament and New Testament based off communication, which is the fellowship that's necessary in order to build community.
Yes, that's really good. I like the way you explain it.
Good little stuff. Work it.
Yeah. So the second Bible story that we all know, and if we don't, I'm going to give you the scripture so you can go and read it.
Okay.
And hopefully, as you're reading, you was like, dang, okay, I see the big picture here. So in Luke chapter 10, verse is 25 through 37, 25 through 37, it talks about the Good Samaritan. Now, y'all know that there was this man, he was hurting, lying on the road, and then the priest and the Levite, who's supposed to be the top dogs, right? They walked by him. They did not stop to help him. Remember the song, One Day, whatever the song is. Anywho, someone who was deemed to be their enemy, the Samaritan, is the person who showed the man kindness. This is the person who took care of him.
Yeah.
Why am I bringing up the story of this Good Samaritan? Because a lot of the times we get into the church, we get into the facility, and we look to the priest and the Levite. We look to the leaders of the church. We look for the pastor and all those leaders to be our friend and to hold our hand and guide us. And sometimes that's not going to be for me. Maybe I wasn't called to that ministry for the pastor or a particular leader to hold my hand and guide me and coach me through life. Maybe their job is to just divide the word rightly, divide the word of truth. But maybe my assignment is connected to someone else that is in that ministry. Maybe I am meant to be in fellowship with someone else who may have a similar story and a different outcome. Maybe their testimony is going to be the thing that helps me get delivered or to overcome or to blossom and grow into my purpose. Yeah. So I brought that up because I don't want us to get so caught up into, well, I want to be with the pastor, or I want to be with the first lady, or I'm going to hang out with the minister of music, or what. No. We're not getting caught up in titles, not in this day and time. We cannot afford to do that because so many people, if that's what you want, I want to be connected to the leaders of the ministry. If it's 500 members in your congregation, you don't think it's another 250 sitting up in there that want the same thing from one man, from one woman? Think about the burden and stress that puts on that leader. And you should be more open to, okay, God wants me to be in fellowship. I should expect it from the least among us, right? I should expect it from them. I should expect the unexpected when it comes to God, because I don't know how he's going to bless me. I don't know what window or door he's going to open for me or on my behalf. So I'm open to it all as long as your stamp of approval is on it. True. So yeah, the story of the Samaritan shows that I shouldn't be caught up into a personality or a person that's in a position, but open to receive whatever God has for me by way of whoever he decides to use.
True. And then that's the growth from them. And then just to let you know what, you know, you got to read between the line on this. We say in between the black and white, the Good Samaritan picks the man up, take him to the nearest inn, and then tell the innkeeper, whatever his tab is, I take care of it when I come back. A couple of things are being said that's not being said. One, the person that helped them, they knew the path. It's not their first time being on that road. So they knew thieves was on that road. They knew what can happen when you go on that road by yourself. So they was prepared. How you know they were prepared? Because they helped them. They bandaged his wound out there. Why are you carrying bandages and stuff? Because you're experienced. And sometimes God will put people in your life, they experience the path before you got there.
Exactly.
And they're able to nurse you back to help and put you in a position where you can grow. And then also was said, but well, it's not said, but it's implied. When he get to the end, he tell them pretty much, as I paraphrase, put it on my tab. Like, how do they know to trust you? He got good credit with them. He got enough credit that I can drop somebody off here, leave. They're going to take care of them, not based off of them, based off their relationship with me. Yeah, they know I'm good for it. When I come back through, because I'm familiar with the road, I'm going to take care of the debt that I owe. Man,
that is good.
Which is back to what we say, that's the principle or foreshadow of what God said. He's going to pay the bill. Yeah, he's going to be the one that takes care of it. And when he come back, he'll finish what he started. Yeah, because he that begun a good work shall perform it until the day of Jesus. So that's where we at. And it's a lot that you can unpack in that. That's one of my favorite passages to preach from too, just to let you know.
Okay, that's really good though. It's like you can almost tell. You can tell. That's good.
Okay.
So I have another one that I think you'll like because I've heard you talk about this a lot in different sermons over the years. The story of David and Jonathan, how they really in 21st century would be like BFFs.
Yeah. And you really don't see that a lot with males.
Like, I know,
people are almost questionable nowadays because you get too close to everybody.
I'm keeping comments to myself now. Okay. Things be tricky these days.
You already been in that water early.
Things are tricky these days, honey. When you see too much going on, you just be like, hold up, wait a minute.
But yeah, that's amazing. Two brothers able to connect like that, so much so to, you know, the Bible even referenced that they was tied and connected as it relates to they fellowship or connection as brothers. So we're heavy and strong, you know, to have somebody that you're willing to live and die for and to connect on that level. And then the practical side of it too, I think people overlook. This is his brother-in-law as well. Yeah, so they connected their family, but then it just go to another level. And I think because Jonathan honored the gift that David was and the anointing that was on David's life, even though his daddy was king, he still favored and honored David, because you see it throughout time. Jonathan is still connected to him, even when David and his father is beefing.
Yes.
Jonathan is warning David, like, man, I know my daddy tripping right now.
My daddy tripping hard, bro.
You need to do this, you need to do that. But that goes to show you that connection sometimes override. Blood is thicker than water. That old saying that I say, even though blood is thicker than water, the oil is thicker than the blood.
Yeah. What I do like and want to point out is with David and Jonathan, David was a mere shepherd boy.
Okay.
Right? He was not a prominent figure.
Okay.
He came from we're just going to say he came from a low income family. We'll say it like that, just to paint a picture here. But then Jonathan is the prince. He's the son of a king. The two of them come together in fellowship, not looking at my position or my status, my title, or how much money or clout I have, but because there is a spiritual connection here.
Yeah.
Hey, that no matter what, I'm going to have your back.
Yeah.
Regardless of what my daddy, the king, You know, they could be off with your head for treason. I watch a lot of the movies. But regardless of what the king says, I'm going to look out for you. That's the type of fellowship we are supposed to have with one another. If we're going to, like, real deal build the kingdom, if we really trying to draw people to Christ and, you know, show them the way to live, show them that, you know, we have more to offer than the world. This can be exciting too. You can find family here, even if you don't have your blood family, right? Their relationship shows and it teaches us about loyalty, teaches us about friendship, and it teaches us about sticking together. When you are in fellowship, some people are looking for tribes. Some people don't have family. Some people have moved away from their family. Some people may be the only child or whatever the scenario may be. And we all are scattered around in this world looking for our tribe, looking for the group where we fit, where we feel comfortable, where we're growing, where we're learning, where we feel supported. Right. That's what they created with each other. They had the support, they had love, they had all of that. And that's what their story teaches us. To go and find your tribe, but we'll never find it if we're not open to what is deemed as outside of the norm. Because I don't think it's normal for a prince and a shepherd boy to, and I understand the story, you know, he had to defeat Goliath and all that stuff, and then he married his sister and all of that. But just thinking about the circumstances that led to them becoming friends, you know.
Yeah, you would think
it's unprecedented, really.
Jonathan would have been more like Saul. If anybody should be, you know, jealous of David or feel threatened by David, it wouldn't be Saul. I'm the king already. Yeah. But it's a strong possibility that Jonathan get knocked off because of David. You feel me? So Jonathan should have been the one that had an ego trip, like, hey, nah, you get more attention than I have, and I'm next in line. Saul already king.
Because he could have been saying, oh, he trying to steal my position. He trying to take my power. He trying to take my glory. He trying to take what's rightfully due me. Yeah. And he could have had him killed.
And then I think it speaks to a couple of things. Know what you bring to the table. He might then come from means or have the wealth that Jonathan had, but he killed giants. I might not have what you have, but I can kill giants. And I think once you know what you bring to the table, then you don't have to be nervous about sitting at the table. I might not have what the others have at the table, but I know what I'm coming with. And I'm so confident in what I'm coming with, it let me sit with kings. It let me sit with queens because I know what I carry. I have a king inside of me. It have not been fully developed yet. I have not attached. It's not tangible yet, but I know it's coming. So once you realize that,
you have to be sure of yourself.
Change the atmosphere in the room.
Yeah. That takes us right into the next Bible story where when Jesus fed the 5,000. That's found in John chapter 6, verses 1 through 14. Yeah. I thought this was significant because when Jesus was feeding the 5,000, they had their fish, their 2 fish and their 5 loaves of bread, right? There is no way possible that by a miracle of God, right, that there was enough to feed all of those people. Right. But they came together, they gave thanks, they were appreciative of, regardless of the situation. That situation looked impossible. But they still gave thanks and they were appreciative. They came together as a community and they shared. This to me shows the significance of sharing what you have. Not just the people breaking bread and sharing amongst each other, but who had the 2 fish? Who had the 5 loaves? Who was willing to make that sacrifice so that it could be blessed and multiply, right? When we come together and share, I've said this before as well. The Bible tells us that we are overcomers by the words of our testimony. That's sharing. That's sharing what you have been through, sharing your experiences, sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, your ups and your downs. How do we overcome? How do we get better? How do we grow if we never open up our mouths and talk about what life is really like? what is really happening in my mind, in my body, in my finances, in these other relationships that I have, on my job with these kids, these feelings that I'm experiencing, these different things that I'm experiencing in my body. How do I overcome any of it if we never open up our mouths and talk about it? It's all secret, do not tell. If you do, you go to hell. We're not going to hell for sharing, right? But it becomes so taboo because we want to present ourselves to people like we got it together and we've always had it together. God's hand is on us. I am the anointed one. Oh, no. No. Please stop that. That irks my nerves real bad.
And most times dealing with something right then. So
be going through, but too afraid, too embarrassed, too prideful. We got to let go of pride. Too prideful to say, baby,
still ain't got it together.
I'm still broke, but I'm pushing through. I'm making a plan. I have goals. I'm working towards them. This is something that I'm working towards. If you have some financial literacy you can share with me, maybe share that with me. And then maybe I won't bump my head again in the way that I did the last time, right? We try to tell our kids, baby, learn from mom and dad's mistakes so that you don't make the same mistakes we made. That's the same thing we should be doing with our brothers and sisters on this journey as a community or as we're in fellowship one with another.
Yeah, and I think it's good to be around people that you can be transparent with. You know, everybody not trying to be a friend or whatever like that. But if you can find a group of people that you have communion with, fellowship with, that you can be transparent with, that's how you can get help. It's hard to get help if you're not being honest.
You got a closed mouth don't get fed.
Oh, Ma, you got to say something, bro.
You have to open up your mouth. If you never open up your mouth, people are not mind readers. And this is something we have talked about before. Because I said when we were going through it the worst, it's like we had no help. Okay. But we also never opened up our mouth and asked. And I don't know if we were being prideful, but one thing I do know is that we struggled gracefully. And I think because we struggled so gracefully, people just assumed we had it together. But had we opened up our mouths and said, honey, we don't have enough money to pay this apartment rent, or we don't have enough gas money to, get from point A to point B, or we don't have no more food in the refrigerator to feed these kids. What? Had we opened up our mouths, as many times you done got up and gave a testimony, told our business, boy, you better stop. But as many times as we have struggled, but we never opened up our mouths, if we would have opened up our mouths and said something during those times, now this hindsight 2020, because you live and you learn. If we would have opened up our mouths, maybe we wouldn't have struggled so much. Maybe we would have learned earlier on. Maybe somebody would have imparted some wisdom, financial literacy, or whatever it is that we needed at the time. Maybe the struggle wouldn't have been so intense, right? So why am I saying that? Because I want to encourage somebody else. Y'all better open up y'all mouth and start saying something. Now, listen, don't take this out of context, because let me tell you what people do. People will give you a sob story, and every week is something. If every week is something, now this goes back to using wisdom and discernment. We're not no suckers, y'all. But yeah, come on now. This is a podcast where we keep it real, raw, and relevant, right? Don't abuse people's kindness. Don't use people for what you can get out of them. Connect with people for what you can give to them, and in return, you will gain something. Whether it be financial literacy, knowledge, wisdom, finances, or just spiritual growth. Don't get in the business of using people and always giving a sad story.
It's a spiritual principle. Reciprocity.
People get tired of that.
Sowing into ground, then it should be a harvest that you're getting back. And likewise, vice versa. If it's knowledge or whatever, you're able to share and grow. But that's why you got to have a fine balance too. Because I think sometimes you got to learn to go through. So sometimes it ain't just you asking for help. It's you bearing down, learning, maturing, and go. Because sometimes you're going to take a L. But then when you take that loss, turn that loss into a lesson to grow. Everything you won't be rescued from. If that's the case, you'll never grow. If somebody save you every time, There's no need to pray. There's no need to have no relationship with
You
God.
shouldn't want to ask every time either now.
Yeah, I can just call. Some stuff you gotta mature. Like I made a mistake with that. I'm gonna take a L. Like this last year, 2 years, what just took this whole year off. But just the last incident with the business, I like told my wife, I'm gonna take that lick. I'm paying on it now. The reason why, that's a lesson I gotta learn. I'm gonna take that L. I'm gonna turn it into a lesson. And then that person is in that box with that lesson. So I learned it. And so that shows you growth. I never had to, you didn't bought that. So we never had to go back, re-look at it and nothing because we got there, unless you want to give me a full refund. So when it comes to that, it comes in growth, it comes maturity, and you got to grow, not just reaching out. But that's a level of maturity with yourself. Back to what we said earlier, let me self-reflect. See, how did I get in this? And everything ain't the devil. Some of it is your emotions, is you making decisions out of your emotions and decisions you made at the time with the information you had. You made the best decision that you could. And then it's growth. And then I think it's just a phase too. But I think two predecessors, those people that went before you, like that person that went down the road before as the good Samaritan, he knew the road there before. I'm 41 years old. It'd be crazy for me not to talk to my son at 19. I know he don't know. I ain't gotta assume, but at the same time, we didn't necessarily have those tools, but we used to say that if somebody would have just pulled her to the side, you know, we just got married. You know, we ain't got it together. I don't care who you are.
But we get caught up in God will make a way. God will provide.
Oh, you'll put that. So people around you, sometimes you got to pour it to them. You know how hard it is for you. So if we're getting to this phase, we're coming up on 20 years into marriage. Well, a couple last night had introduced themselves, said, hey, been married 3 months. I just smiled and laughed because you're just now finna get into it. You know, you about 3-4 years out before I even consider you married. You ain't here 5 years. Y'all still dating because you don't even, what's her middle name? You might not even know. She told you that was it. She been showing
they know each other's middle name.
So it's just growth. And I mean that when you see that, you can help others out because you've been down that road before.
And then let me tell you from a female perspective, because one time I asked my grandma, I was like, Mama, why you ain't tell me such and such and such? Well, when you're hot-headed and hot, you ain't gonna listen. Yes. And I laughed. And I was like, well, now hindsight 2020, I'm like, well, that was her perception of me based off of attitude, right? But me, I totally would have listened.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you thought about the attitude or whatever, I really listened to you. You know what I'm saying? And if you probably didn't see it right away, but I'm taking wise counsel. I'm listening to what you're saying. And unbeknownst to you, I'm making some wise choices based off of something you've shared with me.
Might not be getting all of it. And then the time frame, they might not be hitting at the same time, but it's growth. You got my boys, I water hose them. I give them all of it.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't gonna let you slide on that.
It'd be a lot.
I'm getting you every day. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. But when we get to that point and you going through them, like, hey, your daddy shared with you everything. Everything I had, I shared it with you. So but whatever I bump my head on, I said
that to say that even when you think no one is listening, even if you think they have an attitude or whatever, you've been down there, you done had an attitude. We've all been here. Like nothing new under the sun. It's just a cycle. It's just going to keep repeating itself from one generation to the next. It just looks different each generation, right? Big brother them, big sister them, mother them, father them, whatever it takes for them to listen to you or for you to carve out a moment where they would take the time to hear what you have to say. True. Even if they don't respond right then, you don't know what has been deposited and what they have, opened their spirits to receive. All right. So for time's sake, I had 2 more stories I want to do.
Walk through it.
The prodigal son. What did I tell you about the prodigal son?
What you told me about the prodigal son?
Dory.
You said Dory. Oh, you having a moment? The prodigal son, we said this and it's just easy. He lost his connection or he lost his contact, but he never lost connection. Meaning,
that's what you said.
When his dad saw him, he said, that's my son. So in other words, he still had his connection with him, being that's his son and that's his father, but then he lost contact with him because he left home. And sometimes as believers, that's where we at. Might leave home, leave the place where we found God, but we still haven't lost connection with him. And so when we get to that point, we understand that I might have strayed away. I might not be walking the straight and narrow path. I still got a connection with him and hit him with that Dietrich hand. And God still hears a sinner's prayer. So the reason why he can still hear my prayers is because I still got a deep connection.
Which goes back to chapters 1 through 6, having that relationship with him.
With God. And what church people or religious religiosity teach people that you got to be perfect before God can hear you, or you got to be a 10 saint. No, man, you could be in a cell doing 10 years, God still hear you. You could be on an island by yourself and God still hear you.
You could be in your car on your way to work.
You could be in sin and God still hear you. And I mean that no matter where you at. And that's a trick of the enemy to make you live in condemnation to the point that you feel like you got to get yourself right so you can talk to God. Yeah, it's a trick of the enemy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna get myself together. I heard people say, "Man, once I get it together, I'm gonna
once I get together, I'm coming."
Yeah, but if that's the case, if you get yourself together,
this is the place where you get it together.
You need to stay where you got it together. Yeah, we might mess you up. Yeah.
So the story of the prodigal son can be found in Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32.
Luke this morning the whole time, huh?
For the well, no, not the whole time.
Luke 10. Yeah.
We did do Luke 10. But for those who want to go back and read the story, something else that I did want to point out, because I had a Dory moment, was that story of the prodigal son teaches about forgiveness, teaches about love, and being a part of God's family. That's what we can kind of take from that. So even on this journey, when we are finding our community, our tribe, and we're in relationship and fellowship with others, y'all, you're gonna have to have forgiveness. You're gonna have to show love. It's a part of it, because people gonna mess up. People gonna mess up. Sometimes people gonna try you. I know this man got this song, "Tried you, I mean, these hands on mine," or whatever he be saying. You know what I'm talking about? People are going to try you. But we have to be in a place where when people mess up and make a mistake, we forgive them. We still extend the love to them. Does that mean I'm going to be a fool and put myself in a position for you to hurt me in that manner again? No, ain't nobody's fool. We ain't going to do that no more.
Use wisdom now.
Come on.
Gotta use wisdom. But the old saying says having unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to get sick. I'm going to hold on to it while that person go on with their life. I didn't see people be bitter, upset, and the person that offended them, they enjoying life, and that person
gone on, miserable, stress-free,
at home, balled up in the night, and that person enjoying life, and you holding all that. No, you got to let that go. And I'm going to say this to some people. You'll never get that, "Will you forgive me?" from that person. You might not never get them to ask you nothing.
You just got to let it go.
You got to let it go. And sometimes it's you detaching yourself from, like, you know what? That person not a righteous person. They not trying to get it but I'm mature. I'm going to let it go. I done moved on. And like Lady M was saying,
you got to let go.
Yeah, that don't mean I put myself to be vulnerable again. Like, I let it go and I'm going back. Nah, we understand what you are. I'm going to mark you. The Bible say mark you.
He will mark somebody.
I mark it. I put it on your forehead, bro. Put it on your contact in my phone, everything.
Oh my God. You have been marked.
Yeah, life too short to keep playing. Yeah, life too short to keep playing. I don't mind forgiveness, but we're not going to play games.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I actually timed this pretty good. I said 5, 6, maybe 7 stories would be enough within the time frame that we have. So our last story is about Moses and Aaron and how they helped each other. Now, this story, I have my scriptures here, is found in Exodus 17, chapter 17, verses 8 through 13. So y'all know the story. The Israelites, they're fighting, right? And Moses had to raise his hand. Can you imagine just standing there? That's a punishment. With kids, you make them hold their arms up and they just get tired. But anywho, he had to raise his hands and pray for them to win.
Yeah.
The weight. You don't know how heavy your arms are until you just stand there. Go stand somewhere and hold your arms up for 10, 15 minutes. Just hold them out. Yeah. But think about the weight that he felt, but the need and the love that he also felt that outweighed the heaviness. So even while he was getting weak and his arms were getting heavy, Aaron and who the
Herb.
other? Herb. Who? Aaron and the other man. Because I don't have his name. You said Herb or Herb?
Herb.
Herb. Okay. Her. Her. Because I want to be right. But y'all go. I told you what scripture's in. Go read it. Just make sure we say their name right. They helped him by holding up his arms because they all had to work together.
Okay.
If it was left up to Moses, now if he literally had the physical power, I'm pretty sure he would have done all he could. He gave all he could. But what do you do when you're tired, when you're weak, when you have become vulnerable? You need that community.
Yeah.
You need those trusted people who are close enough to see, oh no, he kind of struggling today. He a little weak. His arms coming down. Let's go lift his arms up. So they were able to hold his arms up. Hence, they were able to, while his arms is up, they win.
Yeah, and then give a little backstory. They in the middle of war, and every time Moses' hands are up, they're winning. The minute it started to decline, they started to decline as it relates to the warfare they was in, which speak a lot to leadership and understanding leadership and sub-leadership. It didn't say that he asked them to come. They thought it. So
you had to be in fellowship to even pick up on that.
You got to have people that's close enough to see you going through it, and they see him slipping as a leader. As he slipped, everybody else slipped. So let us step in and help. And that's why it's important, even what we're doing now with the church plan, just been talking to solid people and like, hey, man, we're going to do this where you can fit in at, talking to other people that's like-minded, other leaders and stuff like that, that understand that to take on a task such as discipleship or the Great Commission, what God called us to do, you will need sub-leadership people that are leaders as well, because everybody around you can't just be lay people. You got to have solid, structured people around you so you can build and go. And I say that with us because the phase we in with ministry, but that in every area of your life. Whatever you're going to do, you got to have those people around you that's able to execute. When we were dealing with the house, what's your guy name? You love to say?
I'm not telling his
Ivan.
name.
So Ivan, Ivan, sitting at the table, Ivan, you joke with Ivan and ask him, will you see him at the construction site? Ivan said, I won't be out there. I'll be out there monitoring whatever. My days of hammer and nail are over with. My job is to sit at the table with you to oversee the blueprint, to plan out what the next couple of months going to look like so we can have a finished project. In other words, he's saying, no, my area or my slice, even though I'm the leader, I'm not hammering, I'm mapping out. And that's my part, to go and see that what I map out is being executed. It speaks a lot as it relates to leadership. You're going to pack that whole text. But Moses is showing us that even as a leader, sometimes you're going to get tired. And even as the one that's anointed, called out by God, drawn out, that's what Moses' name means. He still struggled. He still got weak. He still experienced some failure. And it took people around him to say, hey, man, every time his hands go down, we lose. Let's support him to make sure his hands stay up.
Yeah.
And then it take you being humble enough to know his hands got to be up. It could have been somebody arrogant. Well, I'm going to lift my hand.
Oh, you felt that?
I'm going to lift my hand.
Had a quickening.
That's what it is. So, yeah, because at that time, the type of people that we dealing with in this age, they would start bumping him out the way and put their hands up. No, his hands are blessed. So it takes people that's humble enough to know, no, it's something on that person that's a little bit different. Exactly. And I'm glad to be connected to it. Yeah.
So I have given you guys the scripture references that you can go back to and read those passages so that you can see how your purpose align, or how fellowship is a part of our purpose, and how it took fellowship and community and connection in each one of those instances to come to whatever that expected end was. And how even on our personal journeys as we navigate through life here in the 21st century with all these vices in front of us and all of this, how important it is to be in fellowship. We are on a journey to identify a purpose in this life. We understand that, number one, our purpose is to be in relationship with God. What does my relationship with him look like? How do I cultivate that? And in cultivating that, servanthood is a big part of it. What does servanthood look like? It comes from my heart, and I should be doing it as unto God. And then today we leave you with fellowship. They all come together. And then we have two more that we're going to go through. But relationship, servanthood, fellowship is where we are right now. So take some time to kind of, as you're going through the week, read those scriptures and see how the fellowship in those scriptures benefited not just one person, but multiple people, how they were able to grow from their experiences, and how it can help you in your life as you navigate through this thing called purpose.
Yeah, purpose. The life that we live, a purpose-driven life, is on purpose. Everything that we dropped in there is pretty much to help us understand what it is that God have us purpose in life to do. And like Lady M said, we just walking through those steps. As we unpack, you can see the stories and the journeys in the Bible, and those journeys and stories can help us with our practical lives to execute, so we can come to what God said He have an expected end for us.
Yep.
And if it's expected end, that means there's something that He's mapped out already for us to execute. And the sooner we get on that path, the sooner we begin to see the fruits of our labor.
Somebody asked me last week, like, you know, like how do you like do Bible study? Like, what do you do? I was like, I can't get no Bible and just read from Genesis to Revelation. I would be confused. I would be asleep, and I would mess up. So, leaving you with those scriptures today, I'm hoping that you can do your study on fellowship. So, have a goal, make it a specific goal, and then just focus on that thing. So, this week, our focus is fellowship. Practice it. Read about it, feel it, understand it, and then practice it. So, what does that look like? Maybe tuning in to BYOB.
Yeah.
Maybe going to a local congregation where you can see if that's your tribe. But let's work on fellowship this week. We have 2 more weeks in Purpose Driven Life. Next week and the week after, they tie right into the previous 3 that we've talked about, which is going to catapult us into the discussion of the launch of Impact Church DFW. So be looking out for that. I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, like and share this video. I do believe that this approach is going to help somebody. So like and share this video. And again, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for your support and love.
Everybody that support us, thank you for your donation. Thank you for your love. You can support us by Cash App. ICANN 365 stand for Impact Community Action Network, 365 days of the year. So that's ICANN 365, where it's you partner with us, give, support. You could be our friend with $10 being our friend, but whatever the Lord put on your heart to give, or whatever you see, if there's something that bless you, you want to share, push the word out, help somebody, we encourage you to make sure that you keep supporting us, because we're only able to do what we're able to do with your support. Once again, thank you.
All right, guys.
Until then, time. Grace and peace.